Well, my baby, she done left me alone. Said I was a no good and head out on the road. But you ain't gonna see me cry, ain't gonna see me shed no tear, mama, no. Why would I cry? I got 6 more waiting on that telephone. That operator praises me, he praises my name. He's been working overtime since you went away. He's got kids to feed, his bills to do, and thanks to you, he's getting that union pay. Brother, I'm working too, a full-time job, I'm bailing this hay. I bale hay in the morning, I bale hay at night. Full-time job, living this farmer's life. Baby, can't you see, since you left me, the crops have grown and I got plenty to eat. First you curse my
What's up? What's going on? Well. It's I don't know. It's been a couple weeks. I dropped an audio episode last week. It's already gotten quite a few listens. I do have the video for that podcast with Ken Goodrich. I really wanted to drop the audio though. I thought it was pretty impactful. And I thought that it was. I think there was a lot of good that he was talking about, and I really enjoyed my episode with him. Okay, so first on the docket here, as many of you know, I have behind me in most of my video episodes, I have a Jets banner, a New York Jets banner. I just want to let everybody know. I'm just gonna take this down. Just gonna take it down. I hate the Jets. I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I'm just saying I hate the Jets. So that's how I feel about that. And it's really great because I get my Sundays back, which is really, really nice. Like we decorated this past Sunday, put up the tree, had all sorts of stuff. You know, it was nice just to have my Sunday back. So, all right. So that's announcement number one. I hate the Jets. And number two is, okay. So I put out a poll, I don't know, about a week and a half ago. And I battled back and forth about the name of this podcast because there's so many people in the service industry that like sales is just like a it's like a 4-letter word. So I put out some ideas. I started messing around with the logo and I decided to make a name change, and it's going to have the same sort of logo, but it came down to just In This House podcast, or it was Service and Sales Tales. Service and Sales Tales. So I was in this house. So I'm 90% sure it's going to be Service and Sales Tales. And so that's where I'm at right now. And if you have any if you're listening to this and you have any thoughts, there is a poll up. You can vote. There was a lot of people that voted, actually. I think Service and Sales Tales actually won. But anyway, that was it was kind of like, and I like the ring of the Sales Tales. It's just I have so many people who are like just service-minded people, and for whatever reason, they just, they don't gravitate towards it. And I didn't want to like alienate anybody, and I didn't want, and plus it tells like the full sort of story. So I talked to HVA chicks, Jennifer, and I talked to some other people, and it was sort of like, all right, it makes sense. Like, don't change it because you think you have to change it, but I really think I want to change it. So, all right, that being the case, I have a very, very special individual. A lot of people know. His name is Sam Wakefield. I'm going to bring him on. Sam, what's up, buddy? How's it going, man?
It's great, brother. How are you?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Yeah. So
I feel like I'm going to bring a lot of energy, and you're about to go to sleep over there. May have to kick it up a notch.
Oh yeah, no. The problem is I really do I would get very fired up if I was on the Hook podcast and I got really fired up, and he like took this part, like this small clip of the hour that we spent together. and it was me getting like really fired up, and he just took that clip and like it went over the interwebs.
He's excellent at that. I think he did the same thing on mine too. Shout out to you, Tim. He's crushing it.
Tim has a good thing going on. And then I got another post on LinkedIn that was like a different page, and it was like highlighting episodes of podcasts, and it was like listen to this podcast with Everett Lapel and the Hook Agency. But in my mind, I was thinking to myself, like, is this actually Tim that made this page that's like reposted? Because he's like a marketing sort of, he's right. Always, have you been on this podcast before?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, he's always asking people, like, I don't know, he wants to get fired up, and I guess he wants to get to the nitty gritty stuff.
I think he likes to stir the pot a little bit, but it's okay because it creates viewers, right?
It does create viewers. One of the things he said, though, which I thought was really interesting, was
I loved your episode with him, by the way. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but that's one of the very few I've listened to all the way through.
Oh, well, I'm glad it was entertaining. One thing that he said, though, that was really interesting. He talked about the difference between having, you know, followers and likes and having a community. And I thought that was really, for me, I've thought about that quite a lot. So, yeah. Cool, man. I mean, so Sam, like, let's just pretend nobody knows who you are. Who are you?
Well, I am a husband, a father, a guitar player, and also, the clear behind me, that's what everybody can see behind me is when I started putting up the backdrop for my where I'm going to shoot my videos, I was like, I've got to have my guitars in here.
Dude, I had them. I was in my music room downstairs when I originally shot the first like 10 episodes of this podcast, and then I moved it upstairs.
Right? Yeah. We'll have to get together and jam sometime for sure.
Oh, yeah, dude. You're in Austin, right?
Yeah. Or Round Rock, actually, even closer. So,
yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, so I've been in the industry 20 years. I started off as an attic rat pulling ductwork years ago as a helper. You know, after about a year, I was promoted to foreman, not because I was any good, just strictly because everybody else quit and I was the last guy left on the crew. And so, you know, that goes. And I mean, I say it was okay, but I just install was fun.
And that was in the Panhandle, right?
That's in the Texas Panhandle, up in 115 degree weather or 5 degree weather. There's no in betweens hardly. And
you ever heard of this story between the little sliver of Oklahoma directly above the Panhandle, like that rectangle? Have you ever heard the story?
You couldn't see it from where I was, but you could throw a rock and hit it. That's for sure. But no, what's the story?
So it was like very brutal territory, apparently, and it was like contested, and there's a whole history of just that like weird sliver, like that rectangle directly above Texas and like to the left of Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma would have been like a square except for like this like rectangle spot right there. Yeah. Right. I probably could pull up the video, but there's a video on
interesting
on the history.
Look, as you drive north of there, it's 35 minutes and you're across it hardly. And so
yeah.
The only thing I know of that actually comes from there is there's a really good beef jerky company that comes right in the heart of that little spot.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of cattle.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
So that's where I was. I was first 10 years of my career was there. You know, once I moved into sales, then the light bulbs went off and I was like, wow, this is for me, but I sucked. And so I had to get better and started that journey. And one of the funnest things that happened to me there was getting involved both with my mentor at the time, Brian Winkleman, learning business, and he instantly plugged me into ACA and into Service Roundtable and all the different, like back then the groups, 2010, 2011, 2012, and I started learning from there. And then the next big phase was when I, after selling that, started a home performance side of the company there with him. After a few years, took an exit, moved to Austin, and then basically started over in large market versus small market, and did some pretty fun stuff here. And that's where we've landed is after I became the sales manager, sales trainer at a company there, the owner grew it, sold it, and then now moved full-time into coaching and sales training, and really focused on changing this industry and helping everyone become someone worth buying from. There's
What
too many
what
jokes in our industry about how many heart attacks and wives have you had, and I just got sick of it and said, let's become better people.
I love that. For people that don't know what home performance is, explain what home performance is, because I was very involved in home performance.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, then that was way back then. ACCA launched their IE3 event in Austin, Texas. Right about this, it was what, 2010, 2011, 2012, so about 2010 or 11. And home performance is really they tried to make an industry out of all of the other things except heating and air systems. So insulation, sealing the building envelope, windows, doors, all of the components that work. Truly, if we were to do the right thing in a home, which is exactly what we should do, it's all aspects of that. But there's so many different modalities, so to speak, that it's hard to bring it all under one roof. But that's what we did back then. Is we had to wait. Hey, we can do it all, and it was pretty fun.
Was there a like a rebate program where you were working? Because I came from a state that had an actual cash rebate program where if you did those and you get incentivized to do those upgrades in your house.
Yeah. Oh, hell no. We're talking about the Texas Panhandle.
Yeah.
This is the most conservative, non-program part of the country. And I take that back. There was a program for, people who were below poverty level. But for anything else, it was like, sorry, it's your house. You've got to pay for it. So, no, we were out slinging, $10, $15, $20, $30,000 insulation jobs with no equipment in it back then at no rebate, just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. We had a really robust rebate program. So if you could save, let's say between 20 and 40% of your envelope, of your building envelope, of your carbon footprint, you could qualify for money that it was subsidized by the utility coalition. So it was money. It's actually no different. Like, so in DFW, we have Encore, right? And so if you upgrade your AC system to a heat pump or whatever, even if you go AC to AC, but it's really efficient, you get money from Encore, from the grid, as long as your contractor participates in the program. And so it's no different. I mean, there's just money that's allocated, but so yeah, I think every year there's a couple $1 million that's allocated. What I like about that program, it's not as robust, but what I like about it in Texas is that there's an element, the contractor's really in control of it as opposed to the homeowner being in control of it. So because what happens is that if the contractor messes up, let's say, or there's some sort of, listen, it's contracting work, right? If anything happens, the state, right? If the state can hold your money, whereas like here, it's like, okay, the state can hold your money, but the difference is that it's a much more simple process, and it's it's in control of the contractor. Anyway, I thought that was a distinct difference. In California, they had ones, and I don't think they have it anymore, where they would just put on your tax bill.
Oh, geez.
You just do energy improvements in your house, and then they would slap it on your tax bill.
Oh, that's wild. That's like what years ago, there used to be the programs with the gas company and with the electric company. They would come out and put a whole brand new system in and just finance it right in your electric bill. Boop.
So we have that too, depending on your electric company. So, and actually my buddy John, who's been on this show, he's actually hosted with me a couple times. He works for a company, and that's what they do. They slap it right on your bill. So now there's an application process and all that kind of stuff. It's not just, but they will slap it on your bill. So look, positives and negatives of having, a lot of oversight and governmental oversight, right? Like, I'm a big fan of energy improvements in general, or whatever, just like not having garbage in our water. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really big in not having a big North Pacific garbage patch.
The floating island.
Yeah, I don't have to be, I don't have to be like woke in order to be like, I don't want garbage in my water. Yeah.
It's not a hard decision.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're coaching, you're training, you've been in a million houses, you did installs. You're a salt of the earth kind of guy.
Thank you. Yep. Done a lot of different stuff. And so that's a big focus now, man, is, well, in fact, first of all, for everybody watching, I've got to get a little more comfortable here. I had my Close It Now shirt on, but
nice.
Everett's got got the Third Eye Blind shirt on, so I had to bust out my Rocky Horror shirt. Boom.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So for those listening, I've got a Third Eye Blind yellow card shirt on with from the concert that I went to this summer. And Sam's got a Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
You know that when I was in high school, I was in one of those. I was in acting in high school, and I went on. Actually, I did some professional work across the country and whatnot. And I was in the, when they do like a staged performance or like in front of the screen, like they show the movie and then they have actors in front of the screen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Toast and everything.
Yeah. So who did I play? Mr. Green, or was it Professor Plum? I forget. I was Professor Plum or Mr. Green. In Clue, same thing, but Rocky Horror Picture Show, they use the same movie theater and they do the same thing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, but I was Wadsworth in high school actually, and I told my, what's that?
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's really fun. I've noticed that, and it's a conversation I've had recently with people, and I'm not surprised that you mentioned that you had an acting background. It's interesting. I wonder if anybody's ever actually done a study on how many top performers in sales come from an acting background, or at least some form of theater experience.
So my stint in the professional world and I've had interviews with people, or I've talked to people where I've said, if you want to learn rejection and you want to learn how hard things can be, go into the entertainment world. Go into the entertainment world, because the entertainment world is brutal and nasty.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that candidly, my dad was actually owned a company. He started it from scratch. He was a salesman. When he was a salesman, he got promoted to sales manager. And then when his company got sold, he said, you know what, I'm gonna do this on my own. And so I kind of came from that pedigree of understanding it. But he was like a real soft guy. There was no overcoming objections. There was no nothing. It was basically his way of overcoming objections was like, hey, you want some of my product? No, I'm not really. No, I don't really want any. Okay, I'll see you next week.
Love it.
And then he'll come back next week. I'd be like, hey, you want to see some of my samples? My dad, a real Brooklyn accent. Hey, you want to see some of my samples? Weren't you here last week? Yeah. Come on, let me show you some stuff. And then that guy would be his customer for 100.
Of course, forever.
Yeah. So it was my dad was a persistence guy, but he was never pushy. You know what I mean? He just came up with good ideas, much like we do, right? Come up with good ideas, solve problems. Really, I don't know, you probably have the same vein of thought. And I posted a couple of videos recently. It's sometimes you just got to shut up, just listen to people and just help them. Stop with, I got to make this sale, or I got to make a sale. It's dude, just shut up. Just shut up and just help somebody, right? Listen to what they're saying. Try to find common ground. And sometimes we make things so difficult. It's just be a pro, understand your craft. Yeah, there's lots of tactics. Yeah, there's lots of strategies you can use. But it's dude, just help somebody. You guys are getting so confused. Just please help somebody, right? When you leave there, you should be their guy. Yeah. You should be their guy. And they should think, when they think, air conditioning, they should think Sam Wakefield.
Absolutely. Yeah, they should think Everett Lapel. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned this, because it's been probably the last 3 or 4 of the podcasts that I've recorded I've just gone on a tangent about this very thing. It's when I tell people listen, work to become someone worth buying from, that means be an actual decent human being. It's literally show up with your heart for compassion and care and truly wanting to solve their problems has to be more important than you needing to keep the lights on at home. Even if you are literally down to negative $2 in your account, it cannot be that when you're in the house. We have to truly care. And when we do that, the dollars magically seem to follow. And it's wild.
It's magic it's magic how when you stop having commission breath and you're just having a great conversation with somebody, finding common ground, solving a problem, and all of a sudden it's oh wait, people are buying from me. Oh wow, people are actually buying from me. Can you
forgot to even look at the check, but boy, it's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So you've been in the grind for quite a while, man. And so was it a big transition going from the Panhandle to Austin, or was it kind of like?
That was a big one. In fact, probably the biggest realization of that moment was, in the Texas Panhandle, it's kind of the sweet spot for weather. As much as we don't want to be weather driven in our industry, we know a lot of it is weather driven. And, it was just as cold as it is hot. And so that was could bank on, a month, maybe a month and a half of downtime in between the seasons. And then we're ready to go again. When we moved to Austin at the end of the summer, it was right around October, November. And there's no winter here, hardly. And I was used to having these huge winter checks. This is way back when I was strictly in the field before I was podcasting or anything. And it was like hell because there was nothing to do. So I had to go make stuff happen. So I just got into a ton of different networking groups. I became everywhere at once and started turning some self-gens, because if you don't have business, we go find business when you take radical responsibility. But so that's the wild journey of making that transition. It's a great, cool place for culture and stuff, but unexpectedly different in the business side of it.
But a difference in clientele. So what's the weirdest thing you ever encountered up in the Panhandle?
Oh, weirdest thing in the Panhandle. One.
Yeah.
So definitely have had a handful of, plenty of farm, ranch, that kind of stuff. Probably one of the craziest ones. We were, there's a couple crazy ones. Of course, everybody's got the, people wanting to offer you drugs and stuff in the house. Definitely.
Wait. Of course, you have people wanting to offer you drugs. Of course, bro.
Here's a funny one.
We're like 7,000 calls. I don't even know if I've ever had anybody actually. I mean, yeah, you want to hit this joint, but like when you say drugs, like I mean,
okay, yeah, no. So evidently I wouldn't say it's the area, but people were much more forthcoming. And there was this one time I was in the house, and the dude and his wife, they basically like, hey, we're going to step into this back room for a minute. Feel free to come back and join us if you want. And they're straight up hitting meth back there.
Wait, was this in Austin or was this in the Panhandle?
So this was in the back up in the Panhandle. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, it was wild. It was back over in East Austin, and that's what happened. It was wild.
Heroin cowboys up there, man.
That was nuts. The crazy one though, the ones that who needs a furnace when you get the pipe, Doug Wyatt. Look at you, brother.
Furnace when you can. Doug Wyatt says, "Who needs a furnace when you can hit the pipe?"
Yeah, the wildest one though was we were. It was a country home, mobile home, and I was back in between. I was foreman on the crew, also working service tech. This is way back, and we go into this house, and the guy that owns the house. I wish I could remember his name for the life of me, because it absolutely fit the perfect picture. But he's the guy that would walk around, old gentleman, and would walk around with like 2 million power flashlight right in front of his face because his eyes were getting so bad. Well, he's the guy that used to drive through town all the time with his flashlight out the front windshield, right? Trying to see while he's driving. But it's such a small town that everybody knew him. So everybody just made sure he made it.
His name was Hank. His name was Jeff. His name was Hank. Maybe Roy. His name was Hank or Roy.
I want to say it was something like Roy. So we get to
Randall. It was Randall. It was Hank or Roy or Randall. One of those three names.
So we get to his house, and come to find, so the owner of the company is telling us, like, hey, when you get to his driveway, honk your horn and flash your lights and honk your horn again, because he can't see very well, and he's probably going to come out with his pistol.
And he's driving around town.
Of course. So we do the thing, we honk, we flash the lights, we get there, we pull up to his place, and sure enough, of course, here he comes with his pistol. Hey, who are you guys? Of course.
They can't
like, hey, don't shoot. We're here to fix your heater. And so a side story to this is he had a horse right there in the pen. And the horse was famous in the town because the guy would hand him a long neck beer. The horse would turn it up and drink it and like run laps around in his pen. So this is the kind of environment. I'm just painting a better picture of this place for you. And so we go into the house, and we're very slowly making our way through the mobile home. And the wife, who's just as aged, probably 78 if she's a day, all she has on in the living room while she's sitting on the couch, feet up on the coffee table, is one pair of pantyhose. And that's it.
That's it.
And that's it. And she's spread eagle, looking straight at us dead in the eyes when we're walking into the living room. Of course, I immediately see what's going on, and I duck behind the guy that I'm with, and I push him under the bus and say, "Oh, hey, this one's for you." And the gentleman at the time, the guy at the house, he starts screaming at him, "Woman, cover that up! Nobody wants to see any of that shit." And so all of this craziness happens to go down the second we enter the house. He's screaming at her to cover up, and she's like uncovered. And I was like, well, you know what? This is a floor furnace. So left the guy that I was with right there to manage the situation, and I ducked under and changed their hot surface igniter, and we got out of there. But it was a pretty wild event at the time.
Okay.
So it's a lot to unpack, but it happens.
Yeah. Like, was she senile?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. She
Okay.
was gone.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
sometimes listen, 75 is the new, like, you know, 50 or something like that, right?
True.
So it's like,
no, this is the old school version 75, not the new school
Yeah.
75. Like, oh wow, she could also be a pinup girl. No, this is classic. Your great grandma. It was rough.
yeah. Wow.
So that's one of the crazy stories.
And what about when you got to Austin?
Austin's cool though. Austin is fun stories because of the people you run into in Austin. My favorite story is when I went into this house again over in East Austin, little bitty house, completely unassuming, and just walk in the living room. There's this huge ass white grand piano. I'm like, wow, that's a really big grand piano in this tiny living room. Not unusual. It's a musician city. So I start looking around the pictures on the wall, and I was like, oh, wow, cool. That's Johnny Cash. Wait a minute. You're the guy in the pictures with him. He's like, oh, yeah, I was Johnny Cash's piano player. And so straight up, so Earl Poole Ball, when he lived here in Austin, he's like, sit down at the piano. I'll get your picture with him. I'm no, dude, let me get my picture with you. Right. And so that's one of the funnest ones. We met and sold an air conditioner, a whole system to Johnny Cash's piano player, just the random people you meet doing what we do.
There was a situation I had. I worked for a company in New Jersey where the service technician / plumber, you got to do both, really. You can't really. Because half systems are hydronic. Anyway, I was in Bergen County or Hudson County up near New York City, and there was they found a problem, whatever it was, and then I was a sales rep, and I went behind him, and I went in, did my calculations. I forgot, I think it was a boiler, I don't remember, but the guy who lived there, so the wife was there, and she's super nice, and then the husband worked on the set of, he was the musical director and on TV all the time on like Dancing with the Stars or something. Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. So then like what happened was, he's like, hey, I got to go. I'm trying to like talk to him what's going on in his house. He goes, okay, I got to go on stage, or I got to go rehearse with my guys, or whatever it was. Like he's, on the soundstage in LA or whatever. And I'm in New Jersey at his house where he lives. And I'm trying to go in between episodes of Dancing with the Stars with this guy to try to figure out what the heck's going on there. Well, the crazy part about it was this is the thing about making sure that you got all your bases covered and that you've got all the data and you've got everything, because he basically called the service technician, said that, nothing, I don't know what happened in between. I left, I was in between talks, and it was like this whole big ordeal. Like I couldn't even believe it. And I was like, guy, I'm really sorry. I don't really know what to tell you. Like you're upset, and it goes to show. And I'll tell you, we don't hear these stories. Like nobody tells these stories. Nobody says, oh, hey, there was a situation where, homeowner, had credibility issues or trust issues with, service technician or whatever the case may be, or, or there was a faulty diagnosis and it led to like a whole big uncovering of the, a whole big discovery. And it turned out like, maybe it wasn't as big of a deal as they thought it was or whatever, but that's tough. It's tough to be in that situation. I hated to be in that situation. And, you were talking earlier, before we started talking, you were talking about, sales reps and service technicians and like, beating their chest and talking about how big their numbers are and how much business they're doing and whatever else. And you got kind of fired up, and I don't, it's like, well, it's interesting because, I'll let you talk to it because I think it probably needs to be talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, and there may be with the caveat here, right? The concept is there may be people who 100% do what we're going to say.
Sam has some serious technical difficulties. He's completely glitching out. So, the vein of what we were really talking about was essentially, just inflated numbers and people banging on their chests, and really it was just, I don't really know what good anybody's getting from the industry. I think that was really what it was all about. But yeah, let me bring it back on here. I think it's connection issues, Sam. I don't know.
That's really weird. I have a super crazy good internet here, so who knows? I'll own it. It's probably my old Mac. I've got to update my Mac.
No.
But
all right, I'll boot you off. And then maybe you log out and then log back in. But yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about some things, and I've had some really interesting conversations this week with some people in the industry and what 2025 really looks like, and whether, I think there's gonna be a lot of changes. Hey, oh, there you are.
better?
Oh no.
No, not better.
Yeah, maybe switch to your phone. I guess I don't know. It's like,
Oh, geez. Okay.
it's bonkers. Second show in a row, by the way. Last show, Josh Crouch took over and started to he took control of the show, and he took control of the show, and it was interesting. Anyway, long story short, one of the things that had come up, is what's going to be the changes for 2025. Be really interested to know, what's going to happen in 2025. I have no idea. Are there going to be regulatory changes? I'm interested to see what happens with the program, the federal program. I'm really interested to see the federal program and whether or not, these different states. I think they've rolled out about 13 states at this point in time, and what was it called? The Inflation Reduction Act. Be interested to see what happens with that. So, anyway, while we're talking about, there he is. Yeah, looks like the phone works. Actually, the camera on the phone is really good.
Excellent. It's a new Pixel. I hope so.
Nice.
Way better.
Dude, that was really funny because it was really funny because I had texted you, like, I don't know, months ago. We were trying to get together on a podcast, and then and it was blue. The text was blue. And then the one that I texted you today, the text was green. And I'm like, did he switch to I wanted to switch so bad. It's like you're like the tentacles are wrapped around you. You just can't.
It's gross. Honestly, I can tell you from the other side that I was an Android guy for years and years and years and resisted the iPhone movement. And then for the last 4 years, I've had Apple everything. And it was the hardest, I think one of the hardest things I've ever done to get extricated from the Apple network and everything being there. And now that I'm a couple months on the other side of it, I can tell you that I wish I hadn't left. I wish I still had my iPhone. There's some cool things that the Pixel does that is multitasking that the iPhone doesn't do, and there's couple cool features. But overall, from my experience, it feels like an elementary version of what a smartphone should be. So just my personal honest opinion of the new Pixel.
Oh, so you're saying you're much more an Android guy?
Much more an Apple guy at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wish that I had not converted away from it.
I misunderstood what you were saying. Okay.
Yeah, I wish that I would have stayed Apple.
Yeah. Dude, look at that strap. I couldn't see that before, but look at that strap back there.
Oh, yeah. This is my American Deluxe with the jumbo frets and Texas Specials.
I was going to get the exact guitar, man, and this like amazing like baby blue or whatever you want to call it. It's called like beach blue or it's actually kind of the color of my theme here of where your name is.
Yeah. I like that seafoam. This one's tricked out a little. Do you have a second for some technical trick outs?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So I got this guy in here. It's the hip shot. So I can do full on whammy bar dives and like raises. Nothing goes out of tune. And I can also do like the some serious like double stops, and every string stays in tune. It's really sick. Really? So if anybody's a guitar player out there and knows what the hell I'm talking about, I recommend the hip shot for the for a Strat. It's pretty cool.
So I play out often. Like I had 2 gigs this past weekend, and but I play specifically acoustic. I have a arsenal of acoustic guitars. So so my son is like crazy into guitar. I mean, the kid, he's 15. He's better than me. I've been playing for most of my life. Okay. Like 30 years, and he's better than me.
I love it. That's crazy. What we always want, right? Our kids to build this legacy from like better than us.
Yeah. He's so good, dude. He plays on, I do want that. He plays on a Solar I got him for his birthday, and the Solar guitars was like this like famous like sort of Swedish metal guitarist guy who like just started this independent company. Dude, this guitar is so heavy, bro. It's so heavy, it's ridiculous. Nice. And it sounds, dude, I said you can have anything in the store under this dollar amount, no matter what it is.
Sure.
And he was like, okay. He played every single guitar, bro. I'm talking about Les Paul, Gibson, everything. And he was like, nope, this is the one I want. I was like, cool. So he has that. And I bought him a PRS a couple years ago. So for more traditional feeling like Stratty kind of stuff or whatever. But yeah, what's missing from the arsenal is definitely, we do not have a Stratocaster. That's ours in this house. I do have a Strat in this house. It's actually a Japanese Strat. This has gone from Sales Tales to Guitar Tales, which I maybe would just start a new podcast.
I'm down, man. I'm down. I could turn my camera on and we go through the whole gear, but we'd be here for another 2 hours. So let's not.
That's pretty cool, man. Yo, we
can talk about that way longer than anybody ever wants to listen.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Anyway, so what I started to talk about was, what we were getting a little fired up on, like before. What was the vein of what we were really talking about, right? It was about inflated numbers. What is inflated numbers?
Yeah. Man, I've got such a practical take on that. I think a lot of it is because I came up in the industry from very, very under the radar, very small market. I mean, given we won, Dealer of the Year for the small market of Texas for Bryant for 11 years in a row. So we were doing something right, but at the same time, a small market, real under the radar. And when I started getting into social media and hearing all of these numbers of these people across the country that are, doing 10, 15, 16, 17, 20 million a year, I was like, there's no freaking way.
I haven't heard 20 million. I've heard the most I've heard is like 15 million a year, which is insane.
Right? So,
which is insane because if you think about it, if you're over 2 million, you're probably in the top 3% of sales reps in the entire country.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. The reason I like to talk about this topic is to bring some reality back to everybody who only ever hears those highlight reels. It's not that those people can't do it in the right, very specific, almost unicorn type of situations. Yes, absolutely. Anybody could, anybody above a certain threshold of ability can do that in those roles. Of course, we know that. Not to take anything away from them and the amount of work they've done and the role play, and they're beasts, right? But for the rest of us, if we're not in that very perfect pinnacle of where an entire company is built around one person, what do? Right? You build a whole company to do that? Or do you pray and wish and hope that you get to one of those companies and somebody dies off or moves so you can take that role? I mean, what do we do, right? So that's the first question in my head.
Yeah, there's a nuance there, because so for instance, like if you have a company that is built really well and you have a team of people, I'll give you a great example. So the company that I came from in the company that I worked for some years, look, they have marketing efforts, they have a good team, they have a good name in the industry. It's in a very busy, very bustling kind of market. So you're gonna have where you have people, right, where you have a market. If you position yourself properly, you're going to be able to succeed. So those numbers are not now. In those cases, you're typically going to have a lot more techs on the road. So the share is not necessarily going to go all to like one kind of dude. So yeah, I get it. Like you got these powerhouse people, but this is kind of a deeper rooted issue. The deeper rooted issue is really, we base a lot of what we do in our lives, not just here in this industry. We base a lot of what we do on comparison.
100%.
And so I've struggled with this recently. I'm not going to lie. I've struggled with this mentally, emotionally, certain things that, you look at people's, success or where they are, whatever it is. And you look at people's, the things they're accomplishing, and you say to yourself, like, and I don't know if everybody feels this way, but because I'm the way I'm wired, and probably you as well, I just, I say to myself, like, man, it's never, like, I'm not there yet. I'm just not there. I'm never there. Just not there. I didn't get there. I'm not there. Oh my gosh, I got to do more. I did more. And I think it's unhealthy. I think you should always strive for more, but I think if you strive for more based upon the fact that you saw things and I think that's what I think that's what the essence of what you're trying to say is.
Oh, 100% agree. Yeah. And I don't bring it up to take any credit away from any of those organizations or the individuals, but much more to really emphasize to the majority of the industry. Most 99.5% of the people listening are not that. So what I don't want them to end up, because I know people that have quit and left the industry because they could never hit those numbers. I'm like, guys, you don't understand. What is happiness for you? What does success for you look like? And just because you're not that, it's okay. So let it inspire, encourage, motivate, so you see what's possible, not let it be that comparison that constantly is that thief of joy. So, and I'm like you, I've always said, always be content, but never be satisfied. We're still, did I buzz out again? Okay. But yeah, that's the whole that's the big part of the message, is like, there's no way that, we talk about the situations and stuff. If somebody's out there running, and, somebody's out there that is taking marketed leads, and you get all of the leads all over the map that, oh, somebody wants me out to run a vent hood on their stove. You can't compare that type of lead flow to somebody who's doing those kind of numbers. It's just not possible. It's physically not possible. But let it inspire you to do the best you can. My whole message is to be the best version of yourself. You don't have to be someone else, but just be a 10x you. And when you show up as your true authentic self, then that's when you'll find your own level of success like you've never seen before. And that's really what we're all after. There you go. There's my whole thought on it.
Yeah, there's some wisdom there. So let me ask you this: what's your most what's kind of the funniest shit you've ever seen in a house?
Oh, dude. Funniest stuff in a house. I say plenty. Definitely seen a handful of would say funny, some full on like sex rooms. Definitely been some red rooms in houses. With the
all of the accoutrement. So that's always really interesting. And maybe that's an Austin thing, but they seem to be more common here than anywhere else that I've been. And at this point, of course, I've done ride-alongs all over the country. But those are always pretty wild. What are some of the others? What we find in attics, of course, is always fun. One of the coolest ones I found, old school houses when you're in attics, when they used to insulate with like newspaper. It's like newspapers everywhere. We found one that they had used I guess it was that week when they built the house. It was about 8 or 10 copies of when the headline was the baby, the real famous pilot's baby that was kidnapped and then later found murdered.
The Lindbergh baby.
The Lindbergh baby, yeah. So it was the newspapers from that week, and so all of the headline was about the Lindbergh baby. So that was cool for finding that cool old stuff like that.
Dude, that's so weird. So I try to think back at the oldest thing that I've ever come across in somebody's house. There's like two things that come to mind. One was I was in a house right along where like George Washington and the Continental Army went down to New York to fight the Redcoats, the British, right?
Yeah.
There was a house built along that area. I think it was East Hanover, New Jersey, or Whippany, New Jersey. Anyway, the house was originally built in like 1760, 1770. It was really old. And there was an original sewn 13 colonies flag, hand sewn in a frame that was made. It was like Betsy Ross, like sewed it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That's
crazy. And that house had a bunch of muskets and bayonets that were like, he had the largest arsenal of Revolutionary War history guns in the world. It was great. It was the craziest thing. Actually, that was a boiler, and you probably you never worked on hydronics really, but like this boiler, it went from, it was so funny, just so weird to watch it go from like wood to coal, from coal to oil, from oil to natural gas. And then, we were, it was a lot of work. So we used to bust down all sorts of, we used to have to sledgehammer those things, man, just break them apart. Crazy.
I've not worked with a lot of boilers in Texas. Especially this last year when I started doing a lot more travel dates and trainings at locations all over the country.
Oh, okay.
Definitely some of the ones up in the Northeast. I was up at Yost and Campbell, up in in New York, up in Yonkers, and up there north of Manhattan, and up in Pennsylvania, Carbondale, Pennsylvania, with T. Spall up there, and some of the different others. Triangle up in Pennsylvania, and came across plenty of boilers, that's for sure. Especially the ones right down in Manhattan. Those guys are nuts.
Yeah, those are most of those companies are like, a lot of those buildings are even run like union run buildings. They're not even, it's not even standard companies, like union companies that run it.
Oh, it's wild. And the craziest part to me was learning about some of their like fixed rental income rates or fixed rates. It's like these people I'm meeting that have been in the same apartment that have this fixed rental rate, and they're paying like $22 for rent every month.
Yeah,
so it can never go up as long as they live there.
I got a buddy who has that, and he has an apartment in Brooklyn that would be like $4,000 or $5,000 a month or whatever, and he pays like $500 a month. Yeah. And his grandmother, so it gets passed down. Like you could pass it down, like through generations or whatever. But it's very difficult. Like you'd have to file for Section 8, like you basically to get. Yeah, I mean it's super expensive to live up there. So there's one question. I know you know this. There's one question I ask on every single episode, and like I said, I can't wait to make a stitch of this whole thing of everybody's answer. But what is one experience you've had with a customer? I'll say client or customer that lives with you. I prefer a customer that lives with you, that you take with you, and you're changed because you went, you met them.
Ooh, That's a tough one. I've had some very deep emotional conversations in my appointments over the years because I'm just that guy. I just sit and listen and care. Probably one of the most influential ones is one that I actually tell often when I do trainings, and it's really about listening to the homeowner and caring to the level that we should care. But this lady, especially asking better questions, you get better answers. But with this lady, she was a senior citizen woman, lived alone in a 2-story condo, and she was super closed at first, like very, very much like wouldn't tell me anything about what's going on. And finally got her to, got the shell to crack a little bit, built some trust with her. And come to find out, wintertime, it was too cold downstairs. So she had to live upstairs, and people came over to her house to cook for her and bring her food upstairs because it was too painful to go downstairs in the winter. And then in the summertime, it was so hot upstairs that she slept on her couch downstairs and never went upstairs. She would have people come over and help her, like, spit bath out of the sinks and stuff. And for all of the summer, couldn't go upstairs. And so we were able to, of course, fix her house and, give her the right temperature on both floors. And the amount of tears and hugs, and it was like the most heartfelt moment when we were actually able to do what we said and give her house back, basically. And I remember very specifically, it was right towards the end of October, 1st of November, which of course in the Texas Panhandle is getting to be really cold at that point. The first snow is usually, Halloween. And she was in tears thinking about how she was going to get to like cook her own meals that winter, because she could be downstairs now and it not hurting her. So that one has sat very, very heavy on me for a lot of years.
Wow.
And just as a constant reminder that we are truly actually changing lives with what we do. It's not just helping somebody save a little bit on their bill or feel a little more comfortable. There's a lot of ways that we can truly, literally change the way their human experience with what we do. And man, it's a very heavy responsibility that we carry a lot of times.
Love it. Sam, tell people how they can find you. What the name of your, what the name of your podcast is, what the name of your business is. Yeah. So it's super simple. Close it now. We do sales training. We do, business systems training. The focus is sales and the conversation around, for your comfort advisors, for your selling techs, for, even CSRs. One of the main drivers we're doing right now is basically the face of door-to-door for HVAC. Nobody else is talking about it, and I'm here to say that if you want to blow up your company, you get on the damn doors. It's like, do the work to do what we did those who went before us did 40 or 50 years ago. That is the number one way to increase revenue in a company at almost zero or low new client acquisition costs. So I've got a bunch of trainings I've put together on door-to-door, and we've got some really cool packages for companies that want to grow that and launch it for their areas. So Close It Now. It's on Instagram. It's The Real Close It Now. Email me, sam@closeitnow.net. Go to closeitnow.net for the website. And last thing is a big announcement. It's okay if I pump an event real quick? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So end of April, 1st of May, we're having the Close It Now sales training. It's actually called Relentless. It's your transformation to basically into greatness. People lately have been calling us the Tony Robbins of sales training for the trades. And we're leaning into that. So we do things wildly different than any other training that's out there. And in fact, case in point, I just recorded a hypnosis for top performing salespeople. So we're doing things very different than anything that's kind of been around before. So it's fun. It's a cool place to be.
Talk about that hypnosis.
Yeah. So have you ever done any type of meditation or guided meditations or anything like that?
Well, you call it meditation. I probably call it prayer, but yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So it is really, so there's a lot that has to do with our belief system, our core belief of who we believe we are and who we believe we can be and what we can do. And it's really easy to see that because all we have to look at is just like societies, right? Look at society and we hit these upper limits and we don't even realize it. They get into our brain through the way we were raised, through the things we learn, through socialization, etc., or from getting into life and have teeth kicked in, right? Thinking, oh, I'm going to accomplish this, and maybe it doesn't happen a time or two. And so then we start to tell ourselves these stories of, well, maybe they can do it and I can't. Maybe Everett can do it because it was his market, or because he was blessed with being good at sales and I wasn't, or whatever false information we tell ourselves. Well, we have to get past that if we want to grow and become better. So what the hypnosis is, call it hypnosis, call it a guided meditation. Basically, I just walk people through what it feels like to just kind of do some visualization exercises, really a good way to say it. And what we're visualizing is, and I'm not going to give away all the secrets of what's in the recording, but basically visualizing what it would look like to be that person that people always want to buy from. It's like if my arch nemesis is, every hero has their arch nemesis, but in this case, your arch nemesis is the best version of yourself. So when we get up at 8 or 7:30 because we slept in, our arch nemesis, the best version of ourselves, got up at 4:30 or 5 and has already hit the gym and already made a bunch of sales calls. They've already had their mindfulness routine. They already got their good nutrition in. So when we're waking up, they're already on their 4th call of the day, right? They're already doing what we are trying to do. So I'm a big believer of and a big fan of like Ed Milet. And one thing that he talks about is when his idea of hell is getting to heaven and God introduces you to the person you were supposed to have been and your full potential in life. Heaven is that person looks identical to you. His version of hell is that person looks nothing at all like you because you didn't do the work it took. You didn't take the steps it takes to become that person and max out and live at your full potential. And that's very much the philosophy and what we're bringing to the trades is we can all do better. And the way to do that is just recognizing where we are starting from, but we don't have to stay there. There is something better, bigger, more potential in every single person. And I'm here to help bring that out of them and really help people grow into something exceptional.
That's fantastic. I love that. And
You got me really passionate. That's the passion, man. That is it.
Yeah.
Sales will come. Everything else will happen if we just work on ourselves first. And of course, there's some really killer, psychology and stuff in the sales training as well. But
yeah. But I like this aspect because I think a lot of people will sort of do this internally, like will do this themselves, will drive them themselves. But some people don't have that internal clock that's going like, okay, what did you do today? What was step 1? What was step 2? Some people don't have that clock that's in them. And I realize that because I know a lot of complacent people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that sometimes people don't even know they're complacent. So I think this is a really good way for people to sort of, I guess, what is it? The neural pathways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you get you start creating the neural pathways. You start changing the way that you're thinking. And well, that's very different. That's very different from anything that anybody is doing. And I'm pleasantly surprised that you're brave enough to have those conversations, because I think that in our field with the type of individuals, rough around the edges kind of guys, some of this sort of, stuff is I think some of it goes over really well. Like guys are really buying into it. And then sometimes they're just not, right? And they're gonna be like, what is this hokey shit, right?
Yeah, it's just too woo woo, right?
Yeah, but I like it, man. I'm glad that you're brave enough to try it, and I'd love to hear any sort of results that you get from it. I'd love to hear the results of people that you that have done it and given you feedback from it.
Absolutely. Well, and honestly, I'm not the first. It's really fun when we kind of think about it. I mean, we'll go back to a classic like HVAC. What is it? Weldon Long's famous book, Power of Consistency, right? That's just basically. Check it out. What's up, Christian?
Yeah, Christian Moore said, "Become someone worth buying from." Sam Wakefield.
Word, exactly. But yeah, I mean, even the Weldon Long's classic book, Power of Consistency, now is a classic in the industry. That's basically the law of attraction he took and rewrote into lay terms. So everybody that if you've read that book and you like it and you believe it, that's law of attraction. Is the woo-woo stuff. He just wrote it in a little bit different language. And so that's really what we're doing is there's so much science and psychology behind everything that we do. But sometimes it needs to be packaged in a little bit different form so we can, hey, that sounds interesting. Let's give it a try.
How many people do you work with on your team?
On the team with Close It Now?
Yeah.
Currently, it's a really small, pretty nimble company. We're about 3 of us.
That's great, man.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay small and you can really, not a lot of noise. You can
it's the ability to be very nimble.
You can be dexterous, as I say.
Yep.
Well, man, I really enjoyed it. One thing I realized, and I've said this time and time again on this podcast, is that like the juices really don't start flowing until about I think there's a reason why Rogan does 3 hours.
Yeah, probably.
Because there's the juices really don't really start flowing until I think a half an hour. Mm-hmm. Half an hour in, that's when juices start flowing, man. But I've loved this conversation. I think that it was great. I'd love to have you back on and after your event, and let's just talk about some success and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sounds great, man.
How it went on, man. I do appreciate you, dude. And for I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm also going to be a guest on Sam's podcast, so we're gonna we'll figure that one out.
Well, rumor has it, Everett, that you have a little bit of a reputation of being kind of a sales badass yourself. So yeah. I have a feeling that we're going to probably tend a little into those topics when we're on my show. Yeah,
the ones we try to I try to avoid on these right now on these episodes. Yeah,
we can throw them over to Close It Now. So everybody that's listening, you've been wanting to hear some sales tips from Everett. Come listen to the Close It Now episode. We'll make him cough them up.
I posted a secret the other day. I made a TikTok. I like TikTok for like the short little, like sort of little things. I was also like in like Instagram jail for like 3 months, the first 3 months of this podcast. So all my followers, I don't even. So the funny part about it was I posted this TikTok and I was like, I love the haters, man. I get so many. It's so funny. It's like so funny. I get all these haters, right? So I was like, first I gave like, all right, presenting financing options, like long-term financing options, like, mm-hmm. how do you present this? And, I was talking about how you explain it, right? Like, hey, look, it's a flexible budget plan. You can pay it off over time. Look, if you have a bad month, you have a low monthly payment, blah, blah, blah. And I was trying to say, look, I was just enabling that person, right? Being a decision enabler so that they don't look at it and like, okay, how long is it? It's 100 years.
Exactly.
Oh, I'll never pay it off. Like, okay, dude,
no, you can pay up to 100 years on it.
Yeah, you can pay as much as you want. Exactly. So it's like soft. And one of the comments was all right, relax there, Kamala.
Oh, geez,
right, relax there, Kamala.
That must have been somebody from the HVAC for Life group.
Dude, no, it wasn't. And I love Jennifer, by the way, who is like one of the admins of that group.
Oh yeah, the group's great. Dude, I get all of my comedy from there.
Dude, have you seen this with Gene Slade? Have you seen the Gene Slade wars? So for those that don't know who Gene Slade is, Gene Slade's like he's been around for a long time. Anyway, so he's like a service trainer. Like he goes around, he trains guys on service. He rubs people the wrong way in some respects. So it's very interesting. So this group has like, I mean, literally like remixed video after video of him and like his like bedazzled jeans. Like it's just absolute, like, if you guys get a chance, you should definitely go over to HVAC for Life and
Oh,
check
it's
out
so
some
funny.
of these posts or
It's
whatever.
fun because I'm in all of the groups, and he's actually reposting them in his own group now because they're so funny.
Yes. So yeah, now he's taking it. He's like, screw it. I have hate, but who cares? I have hate. So that was one of them. So says, all right, calm down, Kamala. So what the guy was saying was, you'd ask Kamala a question and she'd be like, John, let me tell you, I grew up in a middle-class town. I grew up in a middle-class town. And like my kids started sending me videos that was like Kamala like answering questions. It was like a little girl sitting eating breakfast, like, hey, Casey, how come you didn't do your laundry? Well, Dad, I mean, I grew up in a middle-class town, and so
That's incredible.
So I posted this other one that was like this other video. It was like, all right, tip of the day, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up, right? Like, stop trying to spew all this nonsense. Like, just shut up and listen to your customer. They're going to tell you a lot of things. If you just shut up and listen to them, right? Like, there's a reason why they're saying the things they're saying. There's a reason why they're saying, like, oh, we're getting other quotes and we're doing this and we're doing that and we're going to talk to all these people and blah, blah, blah. It's probably because they don't trust anybody, right? So they need to trust somebody, right? So, like, what I can save a lot of that for your podcast. I'm very fired up, and like you, I do sales training. I just did a sales training for TACA. I sit on the board of TACA, the Texas Air Conditioning Contractors Association, and I don't have the type of organization you have and clients all over the country and whatnot, but I do, when I get the chance to do sales training, I just absolutely love it. And I love standing in front of class, and I love learning from other sales trainers. Like I've learned from you today. So, dude, I really appreciate you.
That's my biggest thing is how fast can I learn faster? I feel you.
How fast can I learn faster?
That's
I'm gonna bring that with me. Man, I really appreciate you. And anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
Oh, no, I feel like I've kept us running a while. Okay. Thank you for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait for our show. And for everybody listening, go be somebody worth buying from.
Go be somebody worth buying from. See you guys.